So growing up, I was told that everything in moderation, right? And then I heard it from a lot of other people, so I'm like, okay, that's a good truth. And then I realized that it was, look, I say moderation is a lie, but it's more like moderation is outdated. And so the reason why I say moderation is outdated is that when my grandma's grandma was alive, everything in moderation was probably a pretty good idea because you had significantly less access to the stuff we have access to today. Like moderation, everything in moderation didn't include ordering a pizza off an app when I don't have to leave my home. Now it does. So people go, oh, everything in moderation. It's like including thinking. It's like because moderation today is not moderation when it was first came about. So the meaning of everything in moderation was probably more along the lines of like you have to source it locally, you have to be able to grow it locally, you have to be able to, it's probably came before fridges, so you couldn't save the food. And so the idea behind everything in moderation is very interesting. There was no 24-hour shops that you could just go get an ice cream, right? And so I call it a lie, but it's a lie in today's terms. And like my mum said moderation, everything moderation. And I'm like, hang on a sec, she smokes and she drinks. It's like, where's the line for moderation? And so that's what got me thinking. It's like, well, no, it's just an actual justification for someone's actions now. It's like, well, everything in moderation, cupcake, whatever. And like, it's not to say you shouldn't consume something, but just say you want to eat it because you want to eat it. Don't create some sort of mythical justification to be able to consume something. It's like, just fucking eat it. Like, try everything once. It's like, you don't have to try everything once. It's like, there's plenty of drugs that I'll never try, and I don't have to try it once, right? It's just the reality of it. I don't plan on ever consuming something that was made in someone's basement as a narcotic. It's just like, well, not really of interest to me. But some other people do it, whatever, I don't care, right? On some level. And so what it's really getting at with this, as far as moderation is concerned, is that if you look at the people that you look up to, they never really did anything in moderation. They were somewhat obsessed. And so there's actual healthiness to some sort of obsession. Now, it depends whether you have the obsession or if the obsession has you, right? That's a very, very big different thing. And so are you able to go off it for a little while? If you aren't, then the obsession has you. Right? I'm obsessed about the gym. It's like, have a break. And they're like, You said the person like break down, and you're like, it's like, well, you don't have an obsession. The obsession has you. You're not in control. But you try and control everything about it because that's how you're obsessed about it. But the controlling of it, whatever you try to control, controls you. And so you don't have that obsession. It's not a healthy obsession. Whereas, trying to find answers to questions, I think, can sometimes lead to a better healthy obsession. But the question is, can you have a break? And if you can't, then your moderation is bullshit and so is your obsession. So it's not everything in moderation. That's not the true answer for it. Because could you imagine what moderation could look like in 100 years' time? It's hard to imagine, but it's not what it meant when it first was used. And this is why, sugar is actually called white gold, because it was used as a form of currency. It was so rare, right? Compared to a vending machine now. Like they didn't it didn't come around at the same time. Well, everything in moderation / vending machines. Like that wasn't the case. And same thing with saying, you're worth your weight in salt. It's because salt was so rare as well that it also was a form of currency. So we're saying, man, he's worth his weight in salt is an old saying of saying, I would pay him a lot of salt because he's really good value. Whereas saying that today is just like, you calling me salty? It's like, yeah, it's like, I need water, am I dehydrated? So, moderation's a lie. Build a healthy obsession. But control your obsession by not controlling it.
Control your obsession by being able to step away from it.
Totally, and I think it's crucial to be able to do that. I know times, okay, so me, and I'll finish with this. I look back on the times where I'm like, I got to train. It's like, dude, why do I have to train? And then this drop-down list of like, well, I got to be this and I have to be that, and people think this, and it's just like, fuck, I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. Right. So I need to have a break.